to floor proceedings and hearings from the U.S. Congress, White House events, the courts, campaigns, and more from the world of politics, all at your fingertips. You can also stay current with the latest episodes of Washington Journal and find scheduling information for C-SPAN's TV networks and C-SPAN
We're back,
Radio,
guys.
plus a variety of compelling podcasts. C-SPAN Now is available at the Apple Store and Google Play. Scan the QR code to download it for free today, or visit our website, cspan.org/cspan now. C-SPAN Now, your front row seat to Washington, anytime.
We're back, guys. We're back, guys. Minute by minute coverage of the debate. Thank you for joining Tavares Squared Up, where we practice the squared up lifestyle. That's God, family, business, and country.
Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis. Welcome back to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin
it's
wins,
not in America's best interest. It's not in America's best interest.
In 24 hours, you said
we
so
want the border closed.
How exactly would you do that?
We want the deficit brought down.
Do you want Ukraine?
We want to end the forever wars.
I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers.
It's the war machine, guys.
We're in for 250 billion or more.
It's the war machine, guys.
Which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe, like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions.
Look at her. Look at the career politician.
Or we're not going to protect
Look at the career politician.
Reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people.
They don't like you.
You take a look
because
at
you speak for the people of America.
250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well.
Get the war over. Stop the funding.
Your president, okay?
The American people don't want it, people.
You respect him. Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin. Hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a
the career politicians, Mr. Trump.
I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll
they
do
are career politicians, Mr. Trump.
I'll get them together.
That's why they hate you, Mr. Trump.
And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left,
they've done that, Mr. Trump. The Democratic Party, the New World Order, the globalists, Mr. Trump. That's why they hate you.
Because Biden.
That's why they charged you, Mr. Trump.
No idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III.
World War III is here, Mr. Trump. The war machine, the military-industrial complex.
We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify here,
he's going to resign, and they're going to make her the president. I just got the information today, Mr. Trump.
Doesn't know he's alive.
Biden is going to resign. She will be the president up until Election Day.
Best interest.
Breaking news, guys. Watch out for it.
U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done. Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take
That's right, Mr. Trump.
I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment. But
she
also,
loves the military-industrial complex.
How would you deal with Vladimir Putin? And
military-industrial complex, guys.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
You were installed.
The reason that Donald Trump
Stop
says
giggling.
that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans.
We don't have any interest in the Ukraine, Vice President Harris.
A few days before Russia
You do. You get
invaded,
paid by the
Trump,
war.
through force,
You
to
get
change
paid off the
territorial
war,
boundaries,
not the American
define
people.
one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
But not for the United States. No border for the United States. But you want to protect the border of
Days
Ukraine?
later, I went to NATO's eastern flank. To
But you
Poland
didn't
and
go to the
Romania.
American southern
And
border.
through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine.
But you
in
didn't
its
bring 50
righteous
states
defense.
together in the
And
United
because
States.
of
Borders
our
are.
support, because of the air defense,
Vice
the
President
air
Harris.
munitions, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have
All
provided,
military
Ukraine stands
industrial
as an
products.
independent and free country.
All
If
military
Donald Trump were
industrial
president,
products.
Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And
All
understand what that
military
would mean,
industrial
because
products,
Putin's
guys.
agenda is not just about
She
Ukraine.
wants the war to
Understand
continue.
why
She
the
gets
European
paid off the
allies
war,
and our
guys.
NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO,
The career
and
politicians
what we
get
have done
paid.
to preserve
That's why NATO
the ability
doesn't
of
like them.
Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you
That's
think is
a
a
lie
friendship with what is
for
known to be a
the
dictator
interest of the
who would eat you
American
for
people.
lunch.
The American people
Vice President
do
Harris,
not
thank you.
want
From
to
both of you,
support the
Ukraine tonight.
war.
Afghanistan came up in the last
They
hour.
do not
I wanted to
support
respond to
the
something you
war.
said earlier.
I do not support
Please,
the war.
I'll give you a minute.
The war is not in our interest.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow.
He's talking, Vice President.
Than he is right now.
The president is talking, Vice President.
Other people don't. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader
The American
upholding
people
international rules and norms, as a
do
leader
not.
who shows strength.
The
understanding
American
that the
people do
alliances we
not
have around the world
want the
are
forever
dependent
wars.
on our ability to look
The
out for our
political
friends and
career
not favor
politicians
our enemies
want
because
these
you adore
forever
strongmen
wars.
instead of caring about
You
democracy.
want the
And that is
military
very much what is at
industrial
stake here.
complex
The President
to
of the
keep
United States is commander-in-chief,
rolling.
and the American people have a right to rely
They do not
on a president
have anything to do with
understands
Ukraine. The American
of
people
America's role
don't
and
have anything to
responsibility
do with
in
Ukraine.
terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring
Ensure stability in the United States.
sell them
Ensure,
for the benefit of personal flattery.
ensure
Ukraine
the
and Vladimir
security of
Putin.
the
I do
United
talk about
States, Vice
Afghanistan came up
President.
in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never
NATO.
seen, he's the head of
He
NATO.
made NATO
He said,
pay.
I've never ever seen.
That's
For
why
years,
NATO
we were
hates
paying
him.
Almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade
That's
and on
why
maintenance.
NATO
I
hates
got
him.
them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before: if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the
13.
soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from
13
Afghanistan.
soldiers
I do want to ask
in the
Vice President-
chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, a war we were in for 20 years, guys. 20 years. When I talk about the military-industrial complex, that's what I'm talking about. The people who make the military weapons that they ship all around the planet and they sell all around the planet, and they need to destroy those weapons so they can ship them around the planet and sell them around the planet. That's what I'm talking about.
Today,
The military-industrial
one
complex.
member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where
For you as a career politician, career politicians admire Camp David.
Leaders and
Career politicians admire
former president,
Camp
as
David.
president, invited them to Camp David.
The American people don't give a damn about Camp David.
Role and responsibility of the president of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind.
Yes.
And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Joe Biden.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country.
No,
Mr.
don't
President,
go
you
there.
recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is.
Great answer, President Trump.
Something I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
Those were your words. So
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read what she was
now
black,
claiming black.
that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black.
She's black.
It's okay.
Sorry, guys.